welcome back to Visions. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with director Joe Lowe and Dennis Smith, who is the producer of the documentary called Constructing Fear. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Now this documentary's been made, you've had it launched. Where have you had it launched, and tell us about those experiences?
It was launched in Parliament House in Canberra. All opposition MPs and senators were invited along. And that was a really good event. Got a very good turnout. There is very little awareness even within Parliament about these laws. Since Howard's controlled the Senate, they've just put through things like this and no one's even paid any attention because there's no way of stopping them. So that was good. The Greens did a launch in Melbourne for us, which was really good. Had about 100 people there and a panel discussion. But we're mostly focusing on the website and pushing for people to go there, and they can download the film for free on that website, which is quite unique. And we're really just hoping that people also go to the website and organise their own screenings around the country.
To get the message out there.
I think we've become very, very aware that here we are with Joe's film attempting to give a voice to a group of people who otherwise haven't got a public voice, and that every time they do have a public voice through their union, they're branded as criminals and outlaws.
Right.
And so what we've done is we've democratised this process and said, well, OK, if we're going to be denied access to the government TV stations, namely ABC and SBS, for obvious reasons, then how are we going to democratise the form and get it out there to as many people as possible? And the way we figured out to do that was to allow downloads for free.
Right.
And, you know, so far so good. Things are looking good. Not to mention that you can go on the website and organise your own screening. You know.
That's brilliant. And when you have the panel discussions, what sort of things come up?
Look, a lot of people in the discussion we had the other night had more stories on...
to add to it.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Commissioner's out there today, as this goes to air, running around, intimidating more and more people. So... there's a lot of people there who wanted to get something off their chest. I had an electrician stand up in the cinema and say if he didn't get back to the ABCC by Friday, he was looking at 2 years in prison because they've decided that something he said in one of their hearings was misleading. So, you know, they don't just scare people at the start. They stay on people's cases and they try to basically demolish them psychologically so that they'll never stand up again, you know. And if they can do that one by one with every member of the workforce, eventually they'll have what they want, which is a compliant, cheap source of labour to build buildings in this country.
But still, it's hard work, like building. I mean, people sitting in offices in Parliament, they're not really doing physical work. They're just sitting down. The builders are out there really hammer and nail.
But don't be misled into thinking that this is confined to the building industry. Joe is working very hard going around promoting the film, and people are coming up and saying stuff like, I work in a carpet factory and they've come and seen us. Now, it so happens that because they work in carpet manufacture and those carpets are being used in the building industry for the buildings that they're constructing, then for some legal reason this group of workers was set upon. But we keep on saying it's the thin end of the wedge, you know. It looks as if there are models that could go for the electrical trades, and of course it just keeps on going and going and going and going, so that once this model works and the Howard government is re-elected at the end of this year, then who knows what they're going to do? Who knows what is next on the agenda, because there is a prehistory in this. It started on the docks and it's now being rolled out that Australian civil liberties in the workplace are being eroded away.
But I think the building workers will be very happy, Mirella, that you're pointing out that they work very hard and that most parliamentarians have never got their hands dirty.
Yeah, well, they're out there really doing it. They're physically actually doing it.
Like, it's hard work, you know, and they should be respected for it. And instead they're being treated like criminals, and it's an absolute disgrace. It really is.
And what's the history of the building industry? What sort of thoughts have you had? Like, have you done much study in the history of work laws and unions?
Joe's done a lot of that early research, and that prehistory is illustrated very nicely in the film about how the Royal Commission that preceded the Building Act, which set up the ABCC. Basically, it's that line of events, and it's well documented in the film and well worth downloading for that reason, that there is a certain logic behind this. But what we're saying is that the intention behind the Act of Parliament is wrong.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the history of, I understand that most people wouldn't know why the building unions are in the gun. Not far from where we're sitting today is the Queen Victoria Markets, which most people know as a Melbourne landmark. That was scheduled for demolition in the 70s, and there's the building unions who put what they called green bans on it and stopped buildings like Queen Victoria Markets, the Regent Theatre, places like that from being demolished by greedy developers. Now those kind of boycotts and those kind of stoppages that they had to make sure that those cultural landmarks still exist are illegal now and punishable with jail terms and fines. But it's those kind of actions, those kind of broadening out into the community and taking on left-wing progressive causes is what the building unions have done in the past that really gets up the government's nose.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they really hate them.
But the beauty is, like, you have a vision to change something, and everyone has the power within them to make a change. And so you're going ahead with this. What's your vision for the outcome, for a positive outcome for the future for the Buildings Society?
Look, I think my vision with this is just to get people talking, to get people to have an awareness that there is a huge civil liberties issue happening in their country and they don't know about it, and hopefully once they do know about it, that they'll speak to others and a discussion will take place about, do we want to live in a democracy or do we want to live in something darker and nastier than a democracy, and is that the road we want to head down, and are we going to stand back and let that happen? You know?
Okay.
And also I think the vision is, what sort of democracy do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a democracy where few people get to speak and define the parameters of the freedoms that we have, or the many? And I think that's at stake. It's savagely at stake. And every Australian school kid goes and learns about Gallipoli and all this stuff about the hard-won freedoms that this country has fought for, and those freedoms are being eroded away.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Very much
Thanks
for having us.
I hope you enjoyed the program. I'm Mirella Rich, and our guests were Director Joe Lowe and producer Dennis Smith of the documentary called Constructing Fear. See you again soon.